What if the chaos around you wasn't the real problem? What if it was the chaos within? One moment you're fine, the next, you're spiraling. A rude driver, bad news, a passive-aggressive text, or just that one person who knows exactly how to hit under your skin, and suddenly your peace is shattered. Why is it so hard to stay calm? Why does it feel like your own mind betrays you the moment life gets loud? Here's a truth that's uncomfortable but freeing. If you don't train your mind, it will train you. But what if I told you there's another way? A path carved out by some of the wisest people in history. A mindset that teaches you to remain calm, composed, and steady even in the heart of the storm. This is the heart of Stoicism. Peace isn't about what's happening around you. It's about how you choose to respond. And today, you'll learn how to train your mind to hold its ground even when everything around you is falling apart. In the end, it comes down to just two choices. Control your mind, or be controlled by it. But before we dive in, let me tell you a story. Tomas was 33. On the surface, his life looked stable enough: steady job, decent apartment, a partner who cared. But beneath that calm exterior was a storm waiting to erupt. You see, Tomas had one dangerous habit. He bottled everything up. The stress from work, the offhand insults, the quiet disappointments. He buried it all, kept quiet, pushed forward, as if pretending nothing was wrong could somehow make it true. But inside, it was chaos. Every night, he came home and exploded at the smallest things: a noisy neighbor, a missing delivery, a broken toaster. None of it was serious, but any of it could be the match to his fuse. And then came the moment that changed everything. One summer night, his partner looked him in the eye and said, "You're always angry." That was it. Tomas snapped, yelling, accusations, a slammed door. He stormed out, walking aimlessly through the dark streets. And as dawn broke, he sat alone on a park bench, exhausted, empty, and without thinking, he pulled out his phone, opened YouTube, and there it was, a simple phrase on the screen. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. He didn't know it yet, but that was the start of everything. It was a video about Stoicism. He had never heard the word before. It sounded strange, but he hit play, and he kept watching and watching. That night, he didn't sleep. Instead, he discovered Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and for the first time in his life, something clicked. These weren't just motivational quotes, they were raw truths, truths that hit him hard. It's not things that upset us, but our opinion about them. The more power something has over you, the weaker you are in front of it. Choose not to be hurt, and you won't be. Tomas finally realized what no one had ever taught him. Calm isn't a personality trait. It's not something you're born with. It's a skill, a mental muscle, and it can be trained. From that moment, he started small. Before reacting, he paused. Before complaining, he observed. When the anxiety built in his chest, he walked. Did he mess up sometimes? Of course. But something had shifted. Tomas hadn't become a monk. He still got angry sometimes. But something had changed. He was no longer a prisoner of his emotions. Anger might still knock on his door, but now, he knew, he didn't have to answer. And slowly, almost invisibly, Tomas began to transform. He became someone who didn't explode over every inconvenience. Someone who didn't need to shout to feel heard. Someone who finally understood that real control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself from the inside out. Now, maybe you're not Tomas, but let's be honest, haven't you had moments like his? Moments when your mind pulls you down a spiral you didn't want to enter? Where a single comment ruined your entire day, or a bad morning sabotaged your whole week? Here's the truth Tomas discovered, and maybe you're about to. Calm doesn't arrive when everything around you is perfect. It arrives when you are steady on the inside, no matter what the outside world throws at you. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. How to train your mind to stay calm, even in chaos, so you're not at the mercy of traffic, your boss's moods, or unpredictable circumstances. Because if Tomas could do it, so can you. Before we move on, if you're finding this content helpful, consider subscribing and becoming a Stoic Capsule member. You'll get access to exclusive tools and deeper insights. And in the comments, let us know, what will you do today to take control of your mind? Or just write, I'm a Stoic. We're walking this journey with you. Now let me ask you, who's really in charge here? You or your mind? We've all had those days. You wake up energized, ready to take on the world, only for one tiny setback to send it all crashing down. You hit send too soon on an email and immediately regret it. Your mind begins whispering, you're incompetent. You always mess up. Someone throws a rude comment your way, and you spend 30 minutes in your head replaying a comeback. Or worse, someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly you're screaming louder than a sports fan whose team just lost the final dot sound. Familiar? That's your mind entrained, undisciplined like a wild horse running in every direction. And if you don't take the reins, it will drag you through anxiety, anger, and exhaustion. It doesn't matter if your goal is peace, better decision-making, or just fewer emotional meltdowns. If you don't master your mind, it will master you. So let's visualize this. You're in a meeting. Everything's going fine. Suddenly, someone drops a sharp, snide comment, a joke laced with poison. It hits you in the chest. Your heart starts racing. Your brain is firing insults, drafting comebacks, itching to strike. But pause for a second. Is that reaction really necessary? Or is it just your mind pushing you to react instead of respond? This is exactly where we turn to the wisdom of Epictetus. He wrote centuries ago something powerful and timeless. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. So ask yourself, was that comment really that devastating, or is it the meaning you gave it? Let's break it down. Someone says, you could have done that better. Now, how did you choose to hear that? So next time someone says something sharp, take a breath. Remember, it's not always what they said. It's what you think they meant. Because in most cases, the chaos isn't out there. It's the story you're spinning inside. Let's dig a little deeper. When your mind panics, it instantly jumps to conclusions. A simple comment like, you could have done that better, is interpreted as, I'm incompetent, I've let them down, and just like that, you're spiraling, replaying past mistakes, second-guessing yourself, and drowning in self-doubt. But what if you changed the meaning? What if, instead of an attack, it was just feedback, a neutral, even helpful observation, same words, same situation, different story. The shift, it's all in how you choose to interpret it. Here's the real danger: most of us don't even realize when our minds are messing with us. Why? Because we're still running on ancient hardware. The amygdala, your brain's primal alarm system, is designed to detect threats instantly, milliseconds. It doesn't pause to analyze. It doesn't know the difference between a charging lion and a passive-aggressive email. To your brain, danger is danger. And that's exactly why it needs training. Because without that training, your mind becomes a wild animal. And calm doesn't magically appear. It's not something you're born with. It's a skill, a muscle, a habit you build over time. So how do you start? Step 1. The 3-second pause. When something sets you off, stop. Breathe. Count to 3. That tiny pause gives your logical brain a chance to step in before your emotions hijack the moment. Step 2. Rewrite the story. Instead of thinking, they disrespected me, I need to respond. Try, this isn't worth my peace. You'd be amazed how different that one switch in mindset feels. Step 3. Enter observer mode. Zoom out. Pretend you're watching yourself in a movie. Now ask, how would the wisest, calmest character in history respond here? Would they explode over this? Or would they stay grounded, unshaken? Because here's the truth. If you don't steer your mind, something else will. And most of the time, that something is your own knee-jerk reaction. The one that ends up hurting you more than anyone else ever could. So the next time anger, fear, or frustration comes knocking, remember, the reins are in your hands. But what happens when you don't take those reins? Let's talk about that. Imagine you're driving down a peaceful road. Everything feels smooth. You're relaxed. Then suddenly the steering wheel jerks left, then right, then again. You try to straighten out, but it's no use. The wheel isn't responding. The brakes don't work. You're no longer in control. That's exactly what anger feels like. One moment, you think you've got everything under control. The next, you're being yanked around by your emotions, saying things you didn't mean, doing things you'll regret. And when the storm passes, you look around at the wreckage you left behind. Because anger doesn't just mess with your mind. It pulls you away from your values, from who you actually want to be. From calm, from clarity, from that unshakable confidence that nothing can rattle you. And if you're still not convinced how dangerous anger can be, let's take a look at one moment that proved it all. We just saw how anger can hijack our minds like a rogue steering wheel. But what does that really look like in real life? Let's go to a moment the entire world witnessed. Just think back to the Oscars. Will Smith, one of the most respected actors in the world. It was supposed to be the pinnacle of his career, his night to shine, to be honored with the most prestigious award of his life. Everything was going perfectly until it wasn't. Chris Rock made a joke, one that hit too close to home. And in the blink of an eye, something shifted. Will didn't pause. He didn't breathe. He didn't stop to think. He stood up, walked across that shining stage, and in front of millions of people watching live, he slapped Chris, just like that. 1 second, one impulse, one moment of untrained emotion, and everything changed. Years of respect, admiration, and hard-earned trust gone. All because anger took the wheel without permission. Now ask yourself, was it worth it? The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us about this centuries ago. The one who gets angry suffers more than the one who caused the offense. Why? Because the person who throws the insult, they forget it in minutes, but you carry the weight. You replay it. You obsess over it. You fuel it again and again until it becomes part of your identity. Seneca had a rule to protect himself from becoming anger's slave. When someone tried to provoke him, he didn't react immediately. He gave himself time. he understood something most of us forget. Your mind doesn't give the best advice when it's on fire. So what can you do when anger tries to grab the wheel? One of the most powerful things you can do is nothing at all. Let it pass without clinging to it. Neuroscientist Jill Bolt Taylor discovered something fascinating. An emotion like anger only lasts about 90 seconds biologically. That's it. 90 seconds of chemical reaction in your body. You've sat through longer TikTok ads. The problem is, we don't just feel the anger, we feed it. We think about how unfair it was, what we should have said, how wrong they were. And just like that, 90 seconds turns into 90 minutes. Or 9 days. So next time you feel your blood boiling, try this. Do nothing. Just notice it. Breathe. Count slowly to 90. You don't have to respond. You don't have to explain. You just have to wait. Here's another helpful tip. Move your body. Anger isn't just mental, it's physical. You feel it in your clenched jaw, your rapid breath, the tension in your chest. If you stay still, it simmers until it erupts at the worst moment. Try this. Clench your fists tightly. Hold for a moment. Then slowly release. Feel the shift. Small physical actions can ground you. They remind your nervous system that you are safe, that you are in control. And if you're still unsure, ask yourself, will this still matter a week from now? In the heat of the moment, everything feels huge, permanent, unforgivable. But with a little distance, most of it fades into the background. So when something pushes your buttons, visualize your future self, looking back from a calmer, wiser place. Would that version of you say, yes, I'm glad I exploded over that? Probably not. Because if anger really solved anything, all the people who scream, shout, and slam doors would be the happiest people on earth. But you and I both know they're not. So maybe the strongest move isn't to explode. It's to reclaim your power quietly by not letting anger steal your peace. The next time your mind wants to slam the gas with no brakes, you be the one to reach for the wheel. In the last scene, we saw how reclaiming control starts by refusing to let anger run the show. Now, let's take that lesson even deeper, because true calm, it isn't a weakness. It's a quiet kind of strength, the kind that wins battles. Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a battlefield. The ground trembles beneath your feet. Smoke fills the air. Screams echo from every direction. The clash of steel is deafening, like the world is tearing itself apart. Chaos rules the moment. Soldiers are panicking, rushing in without strategy, shouting orders no one can hear. Fear is everywhere. It's total disorder. And then, through the noise, someone appears, a warrior, but not the kind that charges wildly or yells to prove their dominance. No, this one walks steady, composed, deliberate. He doesn't run. He doesn't retreat. He doesn't get swept up in the chaos. His breathing is calm. His gaze is focused. He sees everything. And he waits not out of fear, but out of clarity. And when he acts, it's not impulsive. It's intentional. Every movement has purpose. Every decision, precision. That is real power. Not the one who shouts the loudest. Not the one who reacts the fastest. But the one who owns the moment by refusing to be owned by it. Because calm is not cowardice. It's not hesitation. It's leadership. It's dominance over your emotions in the most critical moments. Now take that image and zoom out. Look at the world around you today. How often do you see people treating rage and noise like power? Yelling to get their way, interrupting to prove their point, We've started to believe that if you're louder, you're stronger. But is that really true? What if real strength isn't in the outburst but in the silence that follows? What if the person who stays composed while everyone else loses their head is actually the one with the real power? Marcus Aurelius Emperor, warrior, and philosopher understood this deeply. He once wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." He didn't write that because he was afraid. He wrote it because he knew when you rage, you lose clarity. When you react, you give away control. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means mastery. It means you're not giving your power to the person who's trying to provoke you. Simon Sinek says the same thing in today's world of business and leadership. True leaders are not the loudest in the room. They're not the ones who dominate conversations or try to control through force. They are the ones who remain steady when everything else is falling apart. The person who keeps calm when others panic. That's the person others look to for direction. That's the person who leads not just at work, but at home, in conflict, and in crisis. Because calm is contagious, it radiates confidence, and people instinctively trust it. And here's the good news. You don't have to be born with it. You don't need special genes or a magical childhood. You can train it like a muscle, like a skill. Let me give you a real-world example. You're negotiating with your landlord. There's damp spreading on the ceiling, and you're tired of waiting. You see him start to push back, his tone rising, his body language defensive. What's your first instinct? To match his tone, to interrupt, to prove you're not someone to mess with. But what if you didn't? What if you stayed calm? What if you kept your voice steady? What if you said exactly what you needed clearly, directly, without raising your volume? You wouldn't come off as weak. You'd come off as powerful, composed, in control. And that's how calm becomes strength. So how did you train that? Let's keep going, because in the next part, we'll break down exactly how to build that kind of composure in your everyday life. In the last scene, we explored how calm isn't weakness, it's power. But how exactly do you develop that kind of calm? Especially when things get messy and pressure is building. Let's break it down. First, take strategic pauses. When emotions flare and tension rises, most people rush to respond. They jump in, interrupt, defend, or explode. But the one who waits, the one who breathes, regains control. A few seconds of silence might not seem like much, but in the heat of conflict, that stillness can speak louder than words. It unsettles the other person. It forces them to pause. It tells them without saying a word that they're not in control of your emotions. You are. Second, use the rhythm of your voice as a tool. You don't need to raise your volume to make a point. In fact, the louder you shout, the more authority you lose. But someone who speaks slowly, clearly, and with calm certainty, that person commands attention. Why? Because calm has its own gravity. It pulls the room in. It signals that you're centered, that your words have weight. And third, master the Stoic gaze. It's not angry, not afraid, not smug. It just is. It watches. It observes, steady, grounded. When someone tries to provoke you expecting a reaction, and all they get is a composed, unshaken stare, they lose their power. They came to steal your peace, but you didn't even flinch. Remember the warrior from earlier, the one who moved through chaos in silence. He wasn't harmless, he was the most dangerous person in the room. Because calm isn't passive, it's strategic. It's what separates those who panic from those who lead. So if you can hold on to your calm, especially when everything around you begins to shake, then you've already won. Because life isn't fair. Yes, I know it's not pleasant to hear, but let's be honest from the start. Life isn't fair. Period. It doesn't always reward effort. It doesn't always recognize kindness. You can work harder than anyone else and still get passed over. You can play by the rules while someone else cuts corners and they might still win. It's frustrating. It's infuriating. And yes, it's unfair. But can you change it? No. So what do you do with that? Because here's the truth. Getting stuck in resentment, playing the victim, or blaming others will only cloud your mind even more. And if there's one thing you've seen throughout this journey, it's that your mind is the only thing you truly control. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Marta. She had been working as an admin assistant for over a decade. She was consistent, punctual, reliable. She kept things running behind the scenes. When an internal promotion opened up, she applied. She had all the experience in the world, 10 years of it. But they gave the job to someone else. Someone who had been at the company for only 6 months. Someone who, by pure coincidence, was related to the boss. Was it unfair? Absolutely. Did it hurt? Of course. Marta felt invisible, overlooked. But what could she do? Argue with life, yell at her boss, lock herself in a room and dwell on the injustice? No. Marta understood something powerful, something Epictetus taught centuries ago. Don't ask for things to happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you will find peace. That wasn't just a pretty quote for her. It became her compass, because asking life to be fair is like getting angry at the rain for falling. You can scream at the clouds all you want, but you're still going to get soaked. Or you can open your umbrella and walk forward anyway. So the question becomes, will you stand in the storm, demanding it to stop? Or will you learn how to move through it calm, steady, and unshaken, just like Marta? The key isn't resisting the storm, it's learning how to walk through it with calm. And once she stopped fixating on what she couldn't control, her life began to shift. Today, Marta works at a new company where her efforts are not just seen, they're valued. She's even training new hires. The injustice she faced didn't magically vanish. The unfairness wasn't erased from her past, but she made a conscious decision. She wouldn't let it poison her present. She didn't allow it to steal her inner peace, and that's what changed everything. Now pause for a moment and put yourself in her shoes. Or better yet, think of a time in your own life when something deeply unfair happened to you. Maybe it was a scholarship you poured your soul into, but lost to someone with connections. Maybe it was a project you gave everything to, only to have someone else get the credit. Or maybe it was simply a heartfelt conversation where you were vulnerable and ended up being misunderstood or hurt. Your mind, in moments like those, wants to explode. It tells you to scream, to shut down, to fight back, to say, "This isn't fair. I deserve better." But here's the twist. When you let your mind get pulled into that emotional storm, when you spiral in frustration or rage, you don't just lose your peace. You lose your clarity, your energy, your control, the very things you need to move forward. So here's a small but powerful challenge for you, something I call the acceptance challenge. Try this for just one day. Don't complain about anything. Not the traffic, not the rain, not your coworker, not the price of coffee or how long the meeting is taking. Just observe, accept, and refocus on what's actually within your control. sound too simple to matter. Try it and watch what happens. Your mind starts to shift. It stops chasing the things it can't fix and starts settling, calming, sharpening. And if total acceptance feels like too much right now, if it's hard to surrender that urge to fight everything, then anchor yourself to something. Maybe it's the universe. Maybe it's fate. Maybe it's life's mysterious plan. Or if you want a more playful image, imagine you've got your very own Stoic GPS quietly guiding you. Turn right. Yes, your boss was unfair. Keep going straight. Don't stop. Trust that it makes sense in the long run. Because sometimes, to keep your mind in one piece, you need to believe there's order beneath the chaos, even if you can't see it yet. My friend, if there's one core lesson to take with you on this journey, it's this. You must learn to stop resisting what you can't change. Life doesn't always treat you the way you deserve, but you always have the power to choose how you respond. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's one time in your life that felt totally unfair, and how did you handle it? This isn't just a video. It's a community, a space to share, to learn, to grow together. And speaking of control, let's talk about the next law. Losing control is your choice. We've all been there. You're standing patiently in line at the grocery store. Everything's calm. You're in no rush. And then someone just walks right in front of you, cuts the line like you don't even exist. They smile, act like it's nothing, and move right ahead. What do? Do you explode, boil with rage, mutter insults under your breath for the next 30 minutes? Or do you pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, this moment doesn't get to decide the quality of my day. I do. It may surprise you, but a study out of Yale University confirmed this. When a person believes they have control over their emotions, they naturally respond more calmly under pressure. In other words, calm isn't luck. It's not a gift only a few are born with. It's a decision. And the best news, it's a decision you can make too. Because at the end of the day, no one, absolutely no one, can take away your peace unless, because in truth, no one can steal your peace unless you hand it over. Epictetus said it best. It's not enough to be insulted or harmed. You must believe you've been harmed. Think about that. It's not the comment, not the raised eyebrow, not the passive-aggressive tone or the rude gesture that causes pain. It's how your mind interprets it. It all starts there, in that quiet, invisible moment when you assign meaning to the experience. And this, right here, is where your mind becomes either your most loyal ally or your greatest betrayer. Because when your mind isn't trained, it acts like a wild animal. It lunges, reacts, defends, attacks. Your amygdala, the ancient part of your brain that exists to detect threats, fires off like an alarm, and suddenly, you're snapping back with sarcasm, shutting down, or replaying the whole thing in your head for hours. But it doesn't have to go that way. You can grab the reins. You can intercept the impulse before it wrecks your mood, your energy, or your whole day. Here's one technique that's saved me countless times. I call it emotional airplane mode. Just like you switch your phone to airplane mode, disconnecting it from the noise, the chatter, the interruptions, you can do the same with your thoughts. Picture this. Someone says something irritating. Your blood starts to rise. Your fists clench. But instead of reacting, you hit that invisible button. The world goes still for a moment. Silence. That pause, just 2 or 3 seconds, is enough to ask yourself, does this even deserve a response? Or can I just move on? I've used this countless times, especially at family gatherings. There's always that one relative, right? You look tired. Have you gained weight? You're not eating enough. It used to ruin my whole day. I'd smile politely, then stew in discomfort for hours, replaying every word, wondering what I should have said. But now, when I feel that familiar burn rising, I breathe. I stay silent. I switch on emotional airplane mode. I choose not to let that comment steer my emotions. And you know what? It works. Because while they're waiting for a reaction, expecting you to snap or explain yourself, you stay calm, unshaken, unbothered. That's real power. Here's another trick that helps. Ask yourself, do I really want to give this person control over my mood? The moment you ask that, your brain shifts. You move from reaction to reflection, from emotion to intention. And suddenly, you're no longer operating from the heat of the moment, you're operating from strength. Because let's be honest, if you exploded every time someone annoyed you, you'd be walking around with the blood pressure of a pressure cooker. And you're not here to explode. You're here to evolve. So next time someone tries to trigger you, to bait you, to push your buttons, pause. Because losing your temper isn't automatic. It's a choice. And staying calm, that's your superpower. Next, we dive into Law 6. Connect with your body and calm your mind. Picture this. You're standing in the kitchen. Your brain is racing with 1,000 tasks. The rice is boiling over. Your phone won't stop buzzing. The kids are yelling. And in the background, ding, another email notification. Your breathing speeds up. Your chest tightens. Your hands start to sweat. And inside, it feels like a storm is about to break loose. But the strangest part, nothing truly catastrophic is happening. Still, you feel trapped, spinning, spiraling, completely overwhelmed. Your mind jumps from one chaotic thought to the next like it's strapped to a runaway roller coaster. You don't know why you're so anxious, and you definitely don't know how to shut it down. But what if you did? Last time, we saw what happens when your mind spirals out of control. How anxiety builds even when nothing around you is truly wrong. But what if, in that exact moment of overwhelm, you had a way to hit reset? What if there was a technique that didn't just numb your thoughts but actually gave you back control? Here's the truth. Calm isn't random. It's not a magical feeling that shows up when life finally better. It's something you do. And sometimes, the best move you can make has nothing to do with your thoughts at all. A groundbreaking study published in The Lancet Psychiatry revealed this surprising fact. People who engage in regular physical activity reduce their risk of severe stress by 43%. Let that sink in. 43%. That's not a small shift, it's a full-on shield against anxiety. Why does this work? Because when your thoughts are spinning, the answer isn't to keep thinking, it's to return to your body. Feel your feet grounded on the earth. Take a deep breath. Roll your shoulders, stretch your arms, move your muscles even just a little. That movement can disrupt the cycle of panic and reset your internal compass. Even the Stoic philosopher Seneca understood this centuries ago. He advised walking as a powerful tool not just for physical health, but for mental clarity. He once wrote, "No wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where they're going." What does that mean for you? Simple. When you're lost in the storm of your mind, no external force will steer you in the right direction unless you first grab the wheel. But when you take even one mindful step, you shift the wind. You reclaim Direction. So the next time your thoughts tighten around you like a net, don't just sit there stewing. Stand up, move. Even for a few minutes. Go for a mindful walk. No phone, no music, just your body and the world around you. Listen to the wind in the trees. Feel the texture of the ground beneath your feet. Notice the birds, the breeze, the moment. It's like slowly finding your way back to yourself. Want something even faster? Shake it off literally. This technique is rooted in somatic therapy. Stand up. Loosen your arms. Wiggle your legs. Rotate your neck. Shake like you're casting off stress because you are. Yes, it feels silly at first, but by the end, it's like you've peeled off a thick coat made of stress and self-judgment. You're lighter, clearer, freer. And if you're short on time, just stretch like a cat after a nap. Ever notice how cats wake up? They stretch every inch of their body, yawn like they own the world, and ease back into life without a single worry. Do the same. In just 2 minutes, stretching your neck, shoulders, and spine can bring more relief than 10 positive thinking mantras ever could. Because your mind may be in crisis, spinning stories of failure, pressure, or panic, but if your body is calm, you create an anchor that stabilizes the storm. And on a hard day, that anchor might be all you need. So remember this: when your mind is in chaos, don't overthink, just move. You'll feel the shift. You'll find your balance again. And you'll realize something powerful. The path to calm doesn't always begin in your thoughts. Sometimes it starts at your feet. In the previous section, we learned how reconnecting with your body can ground your mind. But even when things finally quiet down, have you noticed how your brain sometimes refuses to relax? Like peace feels suspicious? You're sitting there, everything is fine, and suddenly, your thoughts spiral. Did I forget something? This is to calm. Something bad must be coming. Why does the mind do that? Because most of us have linked calmness to conditions. We believe peace is a reward, not a right. If traffic flows, if my boss smiles, if nobody criticizes me, then I can be calm. But the second something goes wrong, boom, peace disappears. But what if calm isn't something the world grants you? What if it's something you grant yourself, regardless of what's happening around you? Seneca knew this all too well. He lived through betrayal, exile, power struggles, and death threats, yet he carried himself like he had an invisible force field of inner peace. He once said, "The more power something has over you, the weaker you are in front of it." And he wasn't just being poetic. He lived those words. Imagine Seneca at a Roman court, someone hurling insults his way, and instead of firing back, he simply activates an inner switch. No flare-ups, no drama, just silent strength. Today, science has a name for that ability: emotional regulation. And no, it's not a superpower. It's not something only monks or sages are born with. It's a trainable skill. Think of that one friend who never loses their cool. You know, the one. You're arguing. Emotions are high, and they're just sipping their coffee, calmly saying, "Let's not escalate this." It almost feels like they operate on a different frequency. But what if that frequency is available to all of us? Because staying calm doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you've decided not to be ruled by everything. Here's one technique I personally use. I call it the emotional plan B. You create it in advance, not during the chaos. Ask yourself, when someone interrupts me at work, how do I want to respond? When my partner snaps at me, how do I hold my center? You write your script before the scene plays out, because if you wait until you're triggered, it's too late. The mind will go into defense mode. Another game changer. Create your calm zone. Now, this doesn't have to be a candlelit room with Tibetan bowls unless that's your vibe. It can be anything that soothes you, a calming playlist, a solo walk, a few quiet minutes with your journal. It's your personal retreat, not made of walls, but made of intention. I also carry a phrase with me, one I whisper to myself in tense moments. I can be part of the problem or part of the solution. It's like a fork in the road. Every time life provokes me, I ask, do I add to the fire or do I bring the water? And when I choose peace, something inside shifts. I feel taller, clearer, more in charge of myself. So let me say this plainly. Your mind will always offer you chaos. It'll beg you to react, to worry, to dwell on things that haven't even happened. It'll invite you to a mental boxing match with life. But only you get to decide if you step into the ring. Only you choose whether you respond or stay rooted in calm. In the previous section, we explored how calm is a choice always available, always within reach, and the more you choose it, the more it becomes second nature. Now, let's take that even deeper, because calm is only one part of your inner power. You are not what happens to you. You are what you do about it. Life can hit you hard. People can betray you. You might lose your job, your health, your home, everything you thought was secure. But here's the truth. What happens to you doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do next. And that's where your greatest strength lies, right between your ears. In your control over your own mind. That's the one thing no one can ever take from you, no matter how bad the storm gets. Let me share a story that perfectly proves this. His name is Brian Betty Oliver, but maybe you know him as Brinator on TikTok. From the moment he was born, life gave him every reason to give up. He was diagnosed with spina bifida and degenerative muscle atrophy. He's been in a wheelchair since childhood. That alone would have made most people feel defeated. It would have been understandable if he let the world define him by what he couldn't do. But Brian, he made a different choice. He chose to fight with everything he had. He chose to laugh at his limits. He chose to turn on a camera, open TikTok, and show up with humor, creativity, and raw honesty, not looking for pity, but offering light. And what happened? Millions began following him. But he didn't stop there. He stepped into film, earned the respect of an entire industry, and was even nominated for a Goya Award as Best New Actor. Let that sink in. Brian didn't choose his body. He didn't choose his condition. But he did choose his response, and that changed his life. He is not his diagnosis. He is not his wheelchair. He is what he chose to do in the face of it all. And you, my friend, have that same power. That's what Stoicism has always taught. Epictetus said it clearly. You cannot choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond. And when you truly embrace that, everything changes. Because if your identity is shaped only by the chaos, by your losses, mistakes, or pain, then you're trapped. You're stuck being the victim of every bad chapter. But if your identity is shaped by your response, then you become the author again. You reclaim the pen. Now think about this. If our worst experiences were all that defined us, we'd all be walking around broken, angry, bitter, defeated. But that's not how it works, is it? We've all been wronged. We've all been betrayed, overlooked, misunderstood. But somehow, we're still here, still showing up. Because what? defines you isn't what broke you. It's what you build next. So picture this. Your best friend, the one you trusted the most, shares a secret they promised to protect. And that secret, it blows up your world. It costs you your relationship, your peace, maybe even your dignity. In that moment, rage floods in. You feel betrayed, lost, maybe even ashamed. And right there, your mind stands at a crossroads. Your world just shattered, trust broken, heart wounded, and your mind, it's firing thoughts like bullets: rage, revenge, retreat. But if you let those impulses drive you, all you'll do is deepen the wound. You'll shout, you'll isolate, you'll stay stuck. But what if there's another way, a quieter, wiser path that starts not with shouting, but with a pen and paper? Try this. Write down 3 things you could do in this exact situation. It doesn't matter if they seem tiny or even silly. Just by searching for options, you switch gears from victim mode to action mode. That shift might be small, but it's powerful. Also, stop labeling everything that happens to you. We're quick to call something a disaster. But what if that betrayal, that failure, that hard moment was the exact spark you needed to grow? Think about it. Maybe that friend's betrayal wasn't just pain, it was permission. Permission to finally focus on yourself, to grow, to build new connections with people who truly see you and support you. So next time something hurts, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Because you can't control the past. You can't rewrite what already happened, but you can refuse to let it trap you. You can refuse to stay stuck in what went wrong. So I ask you this. If you are not defined by what happens to you, but by what you do in response, what story are you going to write? With everything you've got today, right now, what's the next sentence? Because your story doesn't start when everything's perfect. It starts the moment you decide not to give up. And to stay on that path, you'll need a strong mind, a steady mind, and most of all, a calm one. Learn to breathe and you'll master your mind. You know the way you breathe can decide whether you panic or stay grounded. And no, it's not some mystical trick. It's biology. It's pure science. Here's the strange part. We breathe all day, every day, yet we almost never pay attention to how we're doing it. That's where the trap lies. Patrick McEwen, one of the world's top breathing experts and author of The Oxygen Advantage, explains this beautifully. He says most of us breathe wrong, too fast, too shallow. And what does that do? It triggers the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode, like there's a lion in the room. Even if all you're facing is an awkward email or a stressful meeting, your body acts like it's under threat. Your breath tells your body, panic now, and your mind obeys. It races, it scrambles, it magnifies everything. But what if you flipped the script? What if, instead of your breath controlling your mind, you let your breath calm it down? Marcus Aurelius said it clearly. If you are troubled by something external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it, and you can change that judgment at any time. And you know what? The fastest way to shift your judgment is not through thinking, it's through breathing. Because when your breath slows down, your thoughts follow. When your breathing steadies, your emotions settle too. Just the other day, I listened to a podcast by Jefferson Pfizer, a lawyer and expert in emotional regulation. He said something that stuck with me. He explained how in high-stakes courtroom moments, tense, aggressive, full of pressure, he trains himself to pause and breathe before he speaks. That pause doesn't make him weaker. It makes him powerful. In our last section, we learned that when you breathe with intention, you take back control. Your mind stops running wild and calm becomes your anchor. But here's the next level. Knowing how to use that breath, especially when pressure rises. Think about this. Have you ever been caught off guard by a loaded question? One that felt more like a trap than genuine curiosity? Imagine you're in a legal deposition or just a tense conversation and someone hits you with, "So, would you agree that you saw the car parking, but because you were in a rush, you chose not to wait and hit it?" Most people, they'd snap, "No, that's not true." Quick, defensive, emotional. But Jefferson Pfizer suggests something entirely different. He says, pause, take a breath, look the other person in the eye, then say the same words. "No, that's not true." Only this time with poise, with grounded, unshakable calm. Do you see the difference? It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. When you're calm, when you breathe and take your time, the entire room listens. You command attention not by raising your voice, but by owning your space. So the next time you're caught in a heated argument, or you're sitting in a tense meeting, or the world feels like it's falling apart around you, pause. Do what Pfizer recommends. Breathe, then respond. Just 2 seconds. That's all you need. And what if you're at home, overwhelmed, your mind running in 1,000 directions? There's a method many clinical psychologists recommend. It's called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale gently for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds and exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Repeat this for 4 cycles. It's like putting out a fire inside you, one breath at a time. It soothes your body. It resets your mind. Because here's the truth. You can't keep letting your thoughts toss you around like a leaf in the wind every time something happens. You can't let every emotion hijack your peace. Only calm will take you where you truly want to go. And breathing, that's your doorway. So here's a challenge for you, something simple right now. You don't need tools. You don't need a special place. Just close your eyes and breathe intentionally. Inhale slowly. Exhale even slower. Do it for 1 minute. Then tell me in the comments, how do you feel? Did you notice even the slightest shift? That tiny decision to just breathe might be your first real step toward reclaiming full control of your life. 11. Don't obsess over the past or the future. You know what's just as dangerous as a mind spinning out of control? A mind stuck glued to what already happened or paralyzed by what might happen next. It's like trying to drive a car while staring only into the rearview mirror, or getting so fixated on the GPS screen that you forget to watch the road right in front of you. You can't move forward like that. You'll crash. Or worse, you'll never even enjoy the ride. You'll just stay tense, lost in your head, trying to control the uncontrollable. But let's ground ourselves in something timeless. Marcus Aurelius, leader of an empire burdened with decisions that could affect millions, once said, "Man lives only in the present. The rest is either gone or hasn't happened yet." Think about that. Imagine if he, with the weight of Rome on his shoulders, had spent his days replaying past mistakes. What if I shouldn't have sent those troops? What if that law wasn't the right call? He'd still be sitting on his imperial throne, frozen, paralyzed by doubt, while the empire around him burned. But how many of us live exactly like that? We stew in the mental loop of what if. What if I'd chosen a different career? What if it happens again? What if I lose everything? But my friend, pause for a second. What's the point of worrying about what you can't? Previously We explored how staying stuck in the past or spiraling about the future keeps us from the only place where peace actually lives, the present. Now, let's take that one step further, because the truth is, most of our suffering doesn't come from what's happening, it comes from what our mind thinks might happen, or what it keeps replaying from yesterday. The mind is incredibly skilled at dragging us down rabbit holes. It loops, it fixates, it clings, and if you don't train it, it'll spin you in circles all day long. That's where anxiety creeps in, fear of what might go wrong tomorrow. That's where sadness lives mourning what didn't go right yesterday. And while your mind is busy jumping between what's gone and what hasn't even arrived, you miss the one moment you have power over right now. Let me tell you a story that might hit close to home. You're overwhelmed. Your mom insists on planning your child's birthday party her way, like your opinion doesn't even matter. You're biting your tongue all day, holding back frustration. Then suddenly, impulsively, you grab your phone to vent. You pour your heart out in a message to your partner. But in your rush, you accidentally hit send to your mom. Just like that, it's out. You see the read checkmarks. She's online. Your heart drops. And now, your brain goes wild. Why did I do that? What if she's furious? What if this ruins everything? You're stuck not because of the message, but because your mind has trapped you in an emotional replay loop. So what do? Return to the present. Obsession won't unsend the message. Regret won't undo the mistake. But grounding yourself in now, that's your only path forward. Here's how. Step 1. Use a mental anchor. Carry a small object with you. A bracelet, a coin, a smooth stone. In your pocket. Whenever your mind starts spiraling to the past or rushing to the future, touch that object. Let it be your gentle reminder. I am here. This moment is all that matters. Step 2. Try the 1-minute reset. Pause for just 60 seconds. No distractions. No scrolling. No multitasking. Simply notice what's happening around you. What do you hear? How does your breath feel? What's the texture of the chair beneath you? That short, intentional pause is like pressing reset on your mental chaos. Step 3. Ask one grounding question. What can I do to fix this? Not to justify yourself, not to spiral into shame, but to take meaningful action. If there's something you can do it. If not, let it go. Don't let your mind lead you around by the hand, dragging you through every possible fear and regret it can imagine. Because only calm will take you where you truly want to go. And that calm, it lives right here in the present. Now get ready, because what's coming next might surprise you. It's not some advanced mental technique. It's not complicated philosophy. It's actually something simple, powerful, and within reach at any moment. Something you can do anytime, with whatever's right in front of you. Yes, it may be exactly what you need when your thoughts feel like a tornado. Use your hands and clear your head, my friend. Let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time you actually used your hands? And no, I don't mean typing on your phone or tapping away on a keyboard. I mean really using your hands, touching, shaping, creating, fixing. When was the last time you cooked without rushing, drew something without worrying how it looked, took apart a broken lamp just to see how it worked? In the last section, we talked about the calming power of doing things with your hands, about how simple physical actions can cut through the noise in your head and bring you back to the present. Now, let's go even deeper into that idea, because here's the truth. These days, We live almost entirely in our heads. Thoughts on top of thoughts. Notifications buzzing. More thoughts. Then guilt for having too many thoughts. It's a mental whirlwind. So, honestly, how could you not feel overwhelmed if you never step out of that storm? But there is a way out. And no, it's not found in books or on your phone. It's in your hands. As Epictetus wisely said. Don't explain your philosophy, live it. And sometimes, living it means getting up and moving from thinking to action. He believed that worry is defeated not by thinking harder, but by doing something real. Because if you just sit and stew in your thoughts, all you're doing is digging yourself into a deeper mental hole. But when you act, when you do something with your body, you send a clear signal to your brain. I'm in charge here. And this isn't just ancient wisdom. Modern science backs it up too. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, yes. The one with the nearly unpronounceable name, spent years studying what's known as the flow state. That magical moment when time disappears, your mind quiets, and you feel completely present in what you're doing. Do you know what kinds of activities most often lead to that peaceful, focused state? Not scrolling, not watching, but simple things: painting, cooking, handwriting, shaping clay. Anything that pulls your focus into your body and into now. That's why, during World War II, many soldiers, yes, actual soldiers in the middle of war, spent their downtime doing hands-on work, carving wood, fixing things, sewing by hand. From the outside, it looked simple, maybe even childish, but on the inside, it was profound. It wasn't just a distraction. It was stability, something they could control in a world that felt uncontrollable. And the result? Those who engaged in these physical, focused tasks reported significantly fewer symptoms of PTSD, less anxiety, more clarity, a greater sense of internal control. While others were trapped in trauma, drowning in memories, these soldiers were stitching their piece back together, one thread at a time. So now, I say this from experience. When your mind feels messy and heavy, try something simple, something real. Try paper therapy. You don't need to be an artist. Just draw, color, doodle. Put on music you love and move your pen across the page. You'll be amazed how quickly your mind starts to soften, how the fog starts to lift. Or go even simpler. Get some modeling clay. Yes, seriously, like when you were a kid. Squeeze it, roll it, shape it into anything or nothing. Your hands will take over, and your mind will finally exhale. Honestly, if the Stoics had access to Play-Doh, they might have been even wiser. And if clay's not your thing, head to the kitchen. But here's the twist. No phone, no fancy recipe, just you, the ingredients, and your two hands. Knead the dough, chop the herbs, mix until it feels right. Let it become a ritual, a way to come back to yourself. Because when you're elbow deep in flour or peeling carrots, you're not worrying about emails or unpaid bills. You're grounded, you're present, you're alive. And that is where calm lives. So, my friend, don't let your mind pull you down 1,000 dark paths without ever giving you a break. Because yes, only calm will take you where you want to go. And sometimes, that calm doesn't come from thinking harder. Sometimes, it begins right there, in your hands. In the last section, we explored how something as simple as using your hands, doing something tangible, can reconnect you with the present moment and calm your inner storm. Now, let's bring it all home. So here's your final challenge. Next time your mind feels like it's about to collapse under the weight of it all, don't overthink. Don't scroll. Instead, use your hands. Draw something. Cook something. Fix something. Write something by hand. Reconnect with the real world through your body, not just your thoughts. And who knows, maybe, as you calm your mind, you'll stumble upon a hidden talent. Or maybe you won't. But at the very least, you'll reclaim something priceless, a sense of control, a moment of peace, a reminder that your hands and your presence still hold power. Because here's the truth. Training your mind to stay calm isn't a what-I'm thing. It's a lifelong practice, a conscious decision you make every time you choose not to snap. Every time you resist getting pulled into the noise. Every time you say no to chaos and yes to clarity. And the more you choose calm, the easier it becomes to return to it. Every act of restraint is an act of power. Every moment of presence is an act of freedom. And my friend, that is the difference between living at the mercy of everything or living from the inside out with real strength. So if you've made it this far, if you've stayed with me through every lesson, every challenge, every breath, type it in the comments. I choose to live in calm. Let me know you're one of the true Stoic warriors who made it to the end. And if this message spoke to you, if it helped you in even the smallest way, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe to Stoic Capsule and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more timeless lessons, inspiring stories, and powerful tools waiting for you. In fact, you'll see a playlist right here on the screen. It's filled with insights to help you live with more courage, peace, and wisdom. Click it now. And let's keep growing together. Until next time, take care, breathe deeply, and keep embracing your inner Stoic.